So let's go ahead and just go over kind of the main questions that I've received on this. The first question that I received about kind of implementing this tomorrow is, one, how much time do I need? A lot of that, as many of you know, depends on your students and the grade level that you're teaching and kind of their capability. In my experience, if you are teaching 5th grade and above, I would plan for it to take between 45 minutes to an hour, and I would err on the side of it being an hour. I don't know about you, but that was one of my issues as a teacher. I would plan an activity and then it always took a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to. So if you are really clipping along and you've got a really good pace and your students are just, quick and you move and you keep moving, I really think you could get it done in 45 minutes. But when you kind of think about the time it takes to introduce the activity, the time it takes for students to kind of get going, if you're going to be dividing them into groups or things like that, I'd add a little bit more flex time. So 15 to 30 minutes kind of flex time on top of that. And I think that you should be safe. When we did this as a youth group, the locations were all over town. So students were moving from one location to the next, kind of collecting clues and things like that. And so when that's happening, clearly that's going to take a lot more time. So if you're doing the school transformation option, which is version number 3, which do not plan on that for tomorrow, but maybe for next year, that's something that we got really excited about. It's like you could involve your principal, you could involve your staff and have them, or even just parents or guardians, have them volunteer to be some of the different characters or set up the crime scenes and have the students move around from different parts of your school or wherever you plan to use this to kind of collect everything and figure out the mystery. Another fun thing about that, if you do plan to do the school transformation version, and again, I wouldn't plan to do that tomorrow, but if that's something you wanted to do, I've included create your own map. So that way you can insert a screenshot of your school grounds and you can move different pins onto those locations showing where students need to go. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So again, time, I would plan anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes, depending on your class and the age of your students. Another question that I had come in was, can I use this with 8th graders? Yes. In fact, the youth group that we have, it was an age group from 12 all the way up to 17, and it was a hit with all of them. So I really think that it is very, very adaptable. And I would say that you can even use it with grades younger than that. My experience doesn't go much lower than 4th grade. And so I have a hard time saying yes, absolutely try it in your primary grades, but let's go through this. And for my primary grade teachers, if you are saying yeah, I see absolutely no reason why my students couldn't do this, will you let us know? Because again, that's a whole different world. So I would love to hear kind of your thoughts and grade levels, what you think. When I list a product on Teachers Pay Teachers, it only allows us to select 4 grade levels. And so that's why if you're looking at the listing and you're it only says up to 7th grade, could this work with 8th graders? Yes, it absolutely could. So just ignore those little details, right? So let's go over the 3 different versions that I have included in this activity. Number 1 is the first one that I'm thinking is the most realistic for you to try tomorrow with your class. And that is just print and press play. And essentially what you are doing is that you are going to print out a detective page for every one of your students, and then you are going to play videos and the students will watch them. You could have them move from, different rooms as they watch the videos. You could display it for the entire class just on your projector up onto the screen, and everyone just does it as a whole class, or you can kind of split them into groups. But this is the one that is the easiest amount of prep. Let's jump into this and just plow through this. So we're going to start with the print and press play version, because again, I think this is the most realistic version for trying with your class tomorrow. So version 1, you're going to print the detective page, and then students are going to move around our interactive digital map, and they're going to be working on all of these really amazing skills without even realizing it. So I've got kind of the setup here. This is an example of the detective page, and then this is the interactive map that they're going to be using. So let's go ahead and just go there now. You'll notice I kind of take you through the different instructions here, but I think we're going to just talk through them on our own. We've got the teacher's key with the answers. So make sure if you are sharing this digital key, or if you're making a copy of these slides, that you are not including the answers or the keys in that student version. So before we jump into that, let's talk about how you make a student version. So this would be if you have different students using different Chromebooks or working together, instead of just displaying one screen to the entire class. So if you need to make a student copy and maybe you're going to share it on Google Classroom, or you could just send it to their email, what you need to do is you're going to come up here to File, and then you're going to click Make a Copy. And then you could do the entire presentation, or you could have gone through ahead of time and done selected slides. The way that you would do that, and the ones that you would need to take, make a copy of, would be, I'd click on the map, I'd click on the introduction, and let me see, I don't think it's Shift, I think it's Command. I'm using a Mac, yep, and it's Command, and I go through and I select all of the slides on version 1 that students are going to need to be able to see. So I carry out that process, and then let me move this screen. I would again come up here, File, Make a Copy, and then I say of the slides that I've selected. And then from that point, it's going to make a copy of just those slides. Again, don't include the answer key for the student version of that. And then you would come up here and you would go share, and you need to make sure that it is anyone with the link can view. So make sure that it's anyone with the link can view. That way, as they click on the different links, they're not going to be prevented from, one, seeing the slides that you've created for them, because we want to make sure that the share settings is correct. If you just plan on sharing this as an entire class and just completing it as a whole class activity, you would start by, one, printing the PDF for them. You can find the PDF on any of these PDF pages, and you simply just click on that button. And then I click on this link, and it should bring us to the PDFs of everything. The beauty of having the PDFs linked within the Google slide is that it makes it a lot easier to print. Sometimes Google Slides can take a minute to load. So here we have all of the different printable PDFs. So this is the page that you need, and there's a black and white version here, or we have the color version here. So every student needs one of these, and this is essentially where they're going to take their notes, they're going to gather clues, they're going to use process of elimination as they try and solve this mystery, okay? So before tomorrow, if you plan on doing the press play one, this is the page that you need. So either the black and white or the color version, and that's it. That's the only prep that you need to do. So the next thing, once you have those printed, and again, we just clicked on that button and then that link, the way that you're going to introduce it to the class is you're going to come to the video introduction page. And I've already embedded these videos within those slides. So you simply just click play. We can go full screen. Let me see if I can turn my sound on. And we just have a fun little introduction. So this is what your students are going to watch before you turn them loose on that interactive map where they move from location to location to location. One of the key things, so we've got the 5 suspects. They're going to watch that alibi, or you can print the transcript of the alibi and the students can read through it. They're going to take notes about each one. Then they're going to go to 5 different crime scenes, right? And the beauty of that is that those are, you can either print those, or you can just look at them and kind of examine the different things that were left at the crime scene. So they take notes about that. This is the key. There will be one connection between a suspect and the crime scene, and that one connection is the key to solving who it was and where it took place. Now, the weapon one is one that I'm super excited about because I figured out how to do a digital room where students walk through, and I hid the weapons in those like 360-degree rooms. So they will find 4 weapons. The one weapon that they do not find is the weapon that was used in the crime, okay? So again, that's kind of like a process of elimination. So we could say that it's believed that the weapon is still on the suspect. So again, when they are done, that's where they will put their final information. So that's the video that you will show. Again, this is press play and you just jump right into it, which is so fun. So next thing, once you've played that video for your class, the next thing that you're going to do is that you're going to jump into this interactive map. And now the cool thing about this map is that I've linked all of the different things that you're going to need. So you could let your students pick where they want to start. There's no order, there's no rhyme or reason to, how you want to start this or how you want to go about this. So you kind of can just let your students go. So let's go ahead and start with our serial Sabrina. Let's say that we want to go and collect her alibi statement. And again, that's another thing I want to bring up. There may be vocabulary that your students don't know or aren't used to, like alibi, for instance. And that's a really great opportunity to go and figure out what that means as a class together. So looking that up as we move in, or if there's any words that are in the transcripts or that these characters use that students aren't sure the meaning of it, it would be worth looking up those terms. So let's say that we as a class want to go to Serial Sabrina first. So I'm displaying this to my class, or they're each working on their own Chromebook or in partners on a Chromebook, and they're moving from location to location with their detective page, trying to figure out that connection. So let's start with Serial Sabrina. So in order to go there, I simply just click on the link and it brings me automatically there. And now are you ready? Because again, we just press play. So I'm going to make this larger. And this is going to bring us into the alibi statement from Serial Sabrina. And there's a fun play on words there.
You're just in time. Would you like some breakfast? They say it's the most important meal.
This is my friend Emery who helped me with this. And is she not the cutest thing? She nailed it.
Well, you'll have to excuse my appearance. I was out late last night. Trips or treating.
Notice we have the transcript here. We also have it where they can read along, which I think is helpful. As you're going through the suspect videos, I think it's also helpful to, I'm going to stop this and go back.
See, I'm a little.
And click off. One of the things that you could really practice with your students as they go through the suspect videos is talk about their listening comprehension and the skills that they can be practicing. So maybe they're doodling about what the person is saying as they go through this alibi, but they need to take notes because again, they are looking for one connection. And a lot of these suspect videos give a lot of different, details that aren't necessary. And so trying to keep their ideas and their thoughts organized as they try and figure out what connects a suspect to a crime scene that they go and investigate. So again, you simply just press play, they take their notes, and then to go back to our map page, we simply just click on the map and then it'll take us right back. So we went through Serial Sabrina. Let's say we go through all of the different characters and all of those suspects have a video that has them kind of giving their alibi statement. The next thing that they're going to investigate is the different crime scenes. So let's go ahead and see an example of what the crime scene looks like. So again, you simply just click on it and we'll notice red crime scene. So there's different crime scenes around the town. Here's what was found. So we could zoom in and the students are just noticing, they're taking notes. Okay, I see that this took place at a library. There are aisles, we have plants, there's our chairs, things that were found. Okay, hair strands, glasses, dirt, ripped book pages, banana peel, and a backpack. And here's the tricky part. Some of this might be absolute nonsense. You may not need these details at all because again, there is only one thing that's going to connect something found at the crime scene to one of our suspects. And so it's trying to figure out and remember these things. So your students should be taking notes about everything that they notice and see about this crime scene. Okay, so the next thing, let's return back to our map. All right, this is the one that I was so excited about. Weapon locations. This one took me longer than I would care to admit to figure out how to do this. But it was so fun. So let's go ahead and go to one of our weapon locations. So we click on the link and it's going to take us to this 360-degree room where we can look up, we can look down. And again, if you're displaying this to your whole class, let students kind of take turns with this, or maybe they're each on their own Chromebooks and you have them work in partners as they try and find the scene. Notice you can even zoom, and I added fun details like teeth at the dentist office. So funny. But essentially what you're looking for is you're looking for one of the murder weapons. And there were 5 different weapons that will be used. And remember, this is process of elimination. So it's the weapon that they don't find is the one that was used. So it could be, I think there's a knife, there's a shovel, there's a wrench, there's a lead pipe, or there's a rope. Have you noticed as I look around, have you found any of those weapons mentioned? And I'll give it away. What do we see hiding in the corner here? We find the rope. So students would mark off rope. Rope was found at the dentist office. So we know that the rope wasn't used because we found it, and we believe that the weapon is still on the suspect, or the weapon that was used is still on the suspect. So once we've done that, we go ahead and we return back to our screen. So students are going to repeat that process for every one of these locations. And by the time they are done with it, they will have enough information to decide who it was, where it happened, and with what weapon. So again, this is that kind of like you print off that one detective page and then you just press play. You watch the videos, you examine the crime scenes, and then you moved to the different locations. I've also included class discussion kind of questions that can lead you through just more of a wrap up on it, because I just didn't want it to end abruptly. And so having a discussion, these can be helpful to kind of make it feel like a more complete activity. My hope is to come back to this and give you an actual work page that you can assign students that kind of go over these questions in a prettier way, that allow them to kind of reflect on that version of things or that activity. Next up, let's jump into version number 2. This is if you want a more kind of print and play approach, but again, it's going to be a little bit more hands-on as far as your prep time to get this ready for tomorrow. Is it possible? Yes, absolutely, it's possible. So I'm going to share my screen again, and let me figure out where I am. And we are going to share the screen. And let's go ahead and jump in here. Okay, so we are back, and let's talk about version number 2. Version number 2 is, we figured it could be more of a classroom center type of approach. And the beauty of that is that you can combine those digital aspects with the printable options as well. So you can complete version 2 100% as a printable activity, or you can complete it digitally, or kind of a mix of both of them. So again, students need that detective page that we've talked about. You're going to need manila folders to create these like case files for each one of the centers. And again, I think it would work best if students are working in smaller groups. 2 to 3, I wouldn't go any more than 4, honestly. I think that 2 to 3 is that really good range of making sure that everyone is kind of helping and involved and engaged. Any more than that, and it becomes too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the different options. So with classroom centers, the map is completely optional. You do not need the map to move from place to place like we did in the version number 1. You're going to be creating manila folders for each one of those different stations that people moved to. So you would have a manila folder for each character. And we have kind of their statement that we made. We have some notes, and we have that for every one of those 5 different suspects. You also need a manila folder, and again, this could be just an envelope and they move from each one, but essentially every case file is a station that they move from place to place. And in my mind, this would work by just spreading out those case files around your room, and they just work around the kind of perimeter of the room as they go through each one. A tip, if you do plan on taking the time to do this, laminate your folder with everything in it. That way it can be used over and over again, which is always a great thing. So, and you also, if you feel like you have too many stations, consider combining the weapon location station with the crime scene. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into our options with that. So first of all, the weapon location. So this is how you could kind of have a twist with both a printable and a digital version. You've got 2 options for the printable or for version 2. You could either print out this weapon location page that has a weapon hidden in one of those 2, or you can print the QR code page that students can scan with their device, and it will take them to that interactive room that we kind of talked about, where they can look around 360 degrees to try and find or use process of elimination to figure out what weapon was used. So lots of fun options there. And again, all you need to do is print those, right? So if you did want to combine your weapon location with the crime scene, you could just print the QR code if you want them to investigate and search that way, or you can print the principal page and just kind of cut those out and add some tape on them and making it look real authentic. So lots of fun options there. And this one essentially begins the exact same way. I would introduce this by using that introduction video. So you play the introduction video for the class. And then let's go ahead and actually look at before we jump into the introduction, our links, which that should be popping up. Let me zoom out and try that again. And if it's not popping up, we're going to go back to that version 1, and I will come back and add that link later. If you notice some of the formatting is not correct, like for example, finding out that the PDF isn't linked there, go and re-download this activity, and any change that I make in here will be updated in the new one that you download. So I'm just going to come here because it's the same thing. It's going to take me to the same file. So I click on the Whodunit Whodunit, and we're going to go and kind of explore the printables that are included here. So I scroll down, and again, we remember that we need the detective page. You'll notice I've included the answer key as well. So if your students are having difficulty finding any of, say, the hidden weapons, which with the 360-degree room, I guarantee you that they will have trouble finding the wrench in this room. And I wanted it to be that way. If you guys are new to kind of, my store or my philosophy, I love the idea of letting kids struggle and for things to get hard in a very safe and encouraging environment. That's what my whole Grit and Growth Mindset bundle is based on. So let them struggle a little bit, because you know that there's a final answer. They know that it's in there. And if they stick with it long enough, it's going to be worth it so much more than just saying, oh, guys, actually just look down. So let them struggle, but don't break them, right? So we've got our answer key in there. Here's our printable. Every student needs one of these. I even have this linked in here. So technically you could click on that and it will play it. You need to print your crime scenes. So here's our crime scenes: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you need your weapon locations. And remember, you've got 2 options for the weapon locations. You can print just the pictures. And I'll zoom in for you. Where's my zoom? Anyways, a shovel is right there. So again, I've hid the different type of weapons within one of these 2 pictures that they have to kind of look through and find. So print your weapon locations. You can use this printable, or you can use the QR code printables. The police reports will go in each character folder. And then to kind of just dress everything up, here's a supply list if you plan on doing like the transformation. These are the scripts if you're doing the transformation, you want to get volunteers to help. Here are our printables for assembling this. So you would need to print these pages. You just cut those out, put it in the folder, print out the police report, put it in the folder. And then we have pictures that you can use as well. So they look like the Polaroid. So you print those, cut them out, and add them in. I've also added, if you're working with younger students, a clip art version. If that feels more grade level appropriate, you can use tape in that picture instead. And then just a fun little stamp if you wanted to cut out the evidence and add that to the folder. Here's the QR codes for the locations. So if you were to scan this with your phone, or phone or a tablet or even your Chromebook, it's going to automatically open that 360-degree room. And there's 4 of them where they have to look around. If you're not sure how to do that with your phone, the way that you do that is you simply just open your phone, you go to the camera settings, and then I just scan the QR code with my camera open as if I were to take a picture of it, but don't take a picture of it. You're just going to open up that lens, and then your phone will read this QR code and it will prompt you with a link. And that's the same thing with like iPads. With a Chromebook, you may need to download like an app. I can't remember, a Chrome extension that reads it. But they may have updated it to where you don't need to do that anymore. And then this is again with just that transformation 3. These are the printables that you could use if you're doing more of this whole school transformation. But that's it. That's all that you need to print off and assemble to create those different centers. And again, students would just work from one center to the next, and there's no rhyme or reason with the order that they go in. But by the time they get through all of them, they'll have everything that they need to identify who it was, where it happened, and with what. So that's our version 2. And again, you can wrap it up with those classroom discussions, but I would start by introducing it with the video because I think that helps make more sense. Another spin-off on this, if you want students to be moving around the classroom or around the school, more than just kind of staying in that central location, This is the design your own map page. So a fun thing that you can do is you can actually go to your school website, and often you will find a map like this of kind of the layout of things. And if it's not on your school website, go and talk to your principal or the office staff or even someone at your district, and they should be able to get that to you. But all that I did is I inserted a picture or kind of a map of the school, and then you could actually have students move from place to place and kind of hide that case file folder in different places. So let's say my case file for, my case file for Frankenstein is going to be in the gymnasium. And so I single click and I drag Frankenstein's icon onto the part of the map that says gymnasium. And then I can add that there. And let's say the crime scene for the case file for the crime scene with the picnic is going to be in the cafeteria. And so I can make it smaller by just dragging and dropping. But essentially you can go in and you can place all of these things and then take your case file folders and go and just plant them at those different locations around your school. So that's just a really fun way to kind of get students up and moving. Technically, if you didn't want to, or you can't find a map of your school, you could simply just delete this, right? Bring our different icons over here and then just add a text box and say, find the case file folder in room, whatever that room is, or in the cafeteria, and type that out. And then what you would do is you would print this map, and that's how students would kind of move from place to place to gather and collect their clues. So that's another kind of fun spin on getting kiddos out of the classroom and up and moving. So another fun idea there. Okay, that's version number 2. Version number 3, this is your game plan for next year, not this year, not tomorrow. Reason being, this is where you make everything kind of come to life. You have volunteers, you set up the crime scenes, and please, please, please do not plan to do this on your own. But this could be a lot of fun for a grade level or even a school-wide level as they move around and kind of collect the clues. So I've included everything that you need in order to do a transformation. So essentially we have script cards, and at the bottom of every script card, there is a number. So you need a character, and we have it to where it switches off based on, who volunteers or who you have. So you would need a character script or a volunteer for 5 different characters. And so let me show you what those are. So I would need number one. Let me zoom in a little bit closer so you can see that. So here's one, and here's one. I only need one of those. You need one number 1, you need one number 2, so they can pick from these 2 different options. You need one number 3. Here's a 3, here's a 3, and you need one number 4. Vampire Vern is my favorite. So funny. And again, you need one number 5. So you need a volunteer for one of the 5 different scripts. When someone is saying that they will volunteer, and I would encourage you to ask, parents or volunteer like guardians or your office staff or your different grade level teachers to kind of take on this role. But when they agree to do this, they are agreeing to bring this character to life. So that might mean creating kind of a backdrop or a scene like you saw in the videos that I have in version 1. But we're talking like costume, we're talking memorizing this little script, and they will recite it over and over as the different groups or kids come through to collect their alibi statement. If you want to edit the text, I've left it to where you can edit it and kind of switch this up the way that you want. The only thing that you need to be warned about is to not lose, let me find the page that it kind of mentions it. You cannot mess with the sandwich part unless you figure out a way to tie that into your other crime scene, because the sandwich in our Franklina or Frankenstein script is the one connection that connects this character to that crime scene location. So just be very, very careful if you do veer off of script that you're not going to add in any details or issues that would conflict or make the students kind of confused. And that is the same for the setup, making sure that any of the crime scene setups, that there's nothing in common with the setup that the character put together. So just being aware of those little details. So again, the crime scenes, you can actually set up different crime scenes or simply just use the pages and they can kind of move and go find those crime scene locations. When they did it as a town, they had actual crime scene locations set up that the students had to go, or the kids had to go and kind of look around and examine and collect their details. And so like with this one, there's that sandwich, that very, very important sandwich. So that was part of it. So they would come to this location, they would look around, they had it taped off with caution tape, and they tried to pull in the different details and take notes so that they could try and figure out that one thing that connected the suspect to the crime. So again, this is for that full school type of transformation, or maybe you're going to do it in your town or at home. But whatever you end up doing, again, you can build your own map. So I've included that build your own map option. Also, if you veer off, let's say that you use Franklina Stein instead of Frankenstein, instead of printing from the PDFs, you're going to need to edit this page. So I would add Franklina Stein, and maybe you change your crime scene locations as well. So I've made it to where you can edit that text. You can even change the different weapon options to kind of fit your class needs. And then you're going to print from there. And the way that you would do that is you come up here and you go File, and then you would print directly from Google Slides, and you would just select the slide number that you need. So this is slide 67, right? And the same thing for the color. You can come in here and edit that text to whatever characters 1 through 5 you selected, and wherever you want to set up the crime scene or the weapons that they're going to pick from. And remember, the weapons, you decide what was used by what isn't found, right? So, and again, this is where you can create your own. Notice that if you decided to use Franklina Stein instead of Frankenstein, that icon is used here. So you would simply just insert whatever it is, and you can kind of create your own map telling them which location that they'll be going to. The scripts, again, are editable. Just be careful not to veer too far off, or if you are veering off, which is, I totally allow that creative freedom, just make sure that you're not adding in any details that might confuse or conflict with the narrative. So again, let's double check. That one is linked, so that's good. You would simply click here. With the weapon locations, you can do the QR code with the transformation. You can set up your own crime scenes like I showed you the picture of. Because it's in a school setting, the idea of having a weapon location might feel a little bit uncomfortable. And if it does, I would suggest using the QR codes where they go to the actual digital scene, or using my printable locations here where they look at these 2 different pictures and they try and find the weapon that was hidden. Or the other option you could have that feels a little bit more mild as well is I've created printable options that you can hide around the room or in the classroom, like this, for instance. So we would print this, we would cut this out, and you would hide it somewhere. So it wouldn't, it's just funny with the school settings. So something to keep in mind, those are some different options that you can use, right? We've included the caution tape. So if you want to create your own caution tape, by printing that off and cutting it into strips, if I were you, I would hop on Amazon and just find a very inexpensive option for that. But here are some things that were a part of like the character scripts. And so if you just want to print the props, you can print these props and use those. So that is our option. I think that is everything that you need to know about trying this activity with your class tomorrow. In case, I'm not going to say who it was or anything, just in case I make this a public video, I'm going to keep it secret, even though I gave some pretty, obvious clues. But if you have any questions kind of about who did it or how they figure it out, let me know. But again, super excited about this. So I'm going to stop my screen share. I'm going to double check for any comments or questions one more time. If you do end up watching this video and you have questions at the end of it, leave me a comment or email me. I love to hear from you guys. I would especially love to hear back from those of you that try this in your class. I want to know how it went. I want to know what age you did it with. I want to know if they got it. Did you have to kind of lead or prod them along? I want to know how much time it took. I am not currently in the classroom right now. I am at home with my littles. And so any feedback from the actual classroom setting or things that can be changed or adapted is so appreciated. So thank you guys. I hope that you tune in. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you try this with your class. I've been so excited to share it with you. Thanks, guys.